So let's kick off the first panel, which is about shaping European dual-use and defense tech ecosystem.
Yes, we're going to talk about defense sector and startups and how to enter, how to step your first steps. And it will be a mini panel, and it will be only 30 minutes, but we're going to have it very packed with valuable insights.
Let's welcome.
Yes, let's welcome our wonderful participants. And the first one who will join the stage will be Liene Briede, and she is the Vice Rector for Innovations at Riga Technical University and European Innovation Council Ambassador. After that, we will have another wonderful power lady, Kristīne Rudzīte-Stejskala. She's the team leader, European Defense Innovation Scheme, and she will represent the European Commission and DG Defense Industry and Space. Also, we will be joined by wonderful people, Atis Švinka, the Parliamentary Secretary for the Minister of Defense of the Republic of Latvia, and the last sweet mini panelist will be Veiko-Vello, the Management Board Member of Frankenburg Technologies.
Let's welcome all on the stage.
Woo! Round of applause.
Woo!
So only 30 minutes to kick off this extremely important topic. And my panelists asked me before, what kind of questions you will ask? And I promised to surprise them. So that's why I will do it. Tell me, what this audience don't know about defense industry?
Where do we start with me?
Yeah.
All right. What this audience don't know about defense industry, I think my message would be that coming from European Commission, of course, I bring the message from the Commission that we want really to change the way how defense industrial ecosystem works in Europe. We want to give more space to new defense companies, so to startups, to small SMEs, so that's the reason why I'm here, to Deep Tech event. And there's lots of new ways how we promote and want to spin in civil innovation in defense.
Okay. Ministry?
From my side, I would say, as I look for white space analysts, it's white space. I'm ready to talk about everything. So we are always going in audiences to businesses, to funding organizations, and we can repeat and repeat and be patient to do it constantly, because military industry, defense industry, I could say, will be and is the fastest growing one. So we have an ambitious to reach in Latvia at least 3% from GDP, and it's big ambitious. And also looking for research, development, technologies, innovation. We are ready to invest a lot, so at least 1.5% and going up to in 12 years to 3%. So it's big challenges, opportunities, and so we are ready to talk and explain and give these practical things to audiences, to startups today. So everything, I would say.
Thank you, Liene. Happy to be here. Could you turn it a little bit more down? Thank you. I was first very much surprised. I thought Latvians are far more hot-blooded than Estonians, but you are very, very calm and kind of contain yourself. So this is very surprising. To continue what Minister said, I think one of the biggest misconceptions people do not understand about defense industry and warfighting is how much it is dependent on the innovation and fast and rapid innovation. It is literally a survival of the fittest on the battlefield. And by the way, in addition of being a management board member, I was more than 30 years in Estonian Defense Forces as an officer, and later, too bad, but a general officer. So, innovation and rapid change of things. So what I want to say is that we're a little bit too slow. This is really good that we get more money into the defense. The bad thing is that, do we know how to spend it? And I think our procurement system is a little bit broken. It's a little bit too slow. And it is not slow because, for example, minister is not doing its job, but it's very much broken because you, as normal people, are very, very aggressive towards state. You want state to spend its money very, very carefully. But in the battlefield, the innovation is achieved by bringing new stuff very rapidly, testing, discarding, and getting more and more stuff. So, for example, like this is happening in Ukraine by Ukrainian forces as we speak. And our procurement system nor our system for grants does not fully support that. Thank you.
Okay, so we already moved to some challenges that we have in the system, but I will a little bit bring you back. So just to be clear, what is the main difference between the regular startup and defense startup? Because I believe here in audience there's many startups who's maybe thinking about this dual use approach, maybe, we don't know, but what we know that there's even, I would say, a huge place for the new startups in the field. So could you answer to the question, what is the main difference between the, let's call it, regular startup and defense startup?
One of the main differences, in my opinion, is a market. For a regular startup, all of us are market. So basically, you can sell to anybody. For defense startups, there is only one market in principle, and this one market is a government. So you have to be very, very careful and be kind to government in order to be on the, not to get on the naughty list. In defense industry, it's also very licensed and very permit regulated thing, so you have to understand really what you do in order not to be a danger to the other people. And even as a defense startup, when you are selling to a defense prime, to a large defense industry, even then the end thing or the end buyer is a government. And maybe one more challenge is how to get to the end user is a challenge. So when you are in the iPhone business, for example, end user will give you immediate feedback. But in defense industry, it is hard to get to the end user, to the soldier who would give you a feedback on how your product could be improved. So those are the challenges in my view.
Yes, if I could add to what you said, I think we always tend to think that your ultimate customer, and of course it is a warfighter, defense operator, but I think for startups it's equally, I think, interesting to look at the primes, because that could be also your user, yeah, to whom you sell your technology or product. But I also wanted to add that it's very important what drives for defense startups or dual-use startups, what drives your R&D, what drives your innovation. So you have to have some understanding on what are the capabilities, what are the markets, and therefore we very often see in defense startups former militaries, people who understand a little bit the sector. So that, I think, is an important point.
I would like to give my perspective. For me, small context. Now I'm politician. Before, in my previous life, for 30 years, I was entrepreneur in business, as you, the audience. And when I came in politics, and now I'm in military sector and Ministry of Defense, I'm curious, how does it work, everything? I would say it's a big difference and very big specifics. I very much agree that if you want to be in military sector in business, you need to be former, so with experience of military, from National Guard or doing things, it will give very big positive things. You will understand where it's used, how it's possible to do, small the things. If you are completely out of military without any experience, I would say, of course it's possible, but it would be very, very hard to do it. I don't agree that government is the only God to whom you should be polite or not polite, because if you look at this, more possibilities nowadays from this, I would say, yes, one is National Army Forces, could be one, but then there are some country to country, this bilateral, these contacts and procurements could be to other countries, and could be, for example, now the support for Ukraine, what we do, also big packages from all the European countries and the exports. So it's not just one point where you can be. And then, of course, there are other things, how very practically does it work. You should go to people who are in army and show the product. And you should know every national, these capabilities, what's inside these packages for many years of plans. Latvia has a 12-year plan, completely defined the needs of national army forces. So it's defined. So if you fit in this, you can go propose, go testing. We have testing sites for technologies, drones. It's Salonia testing site, or in future it will be sea testing site for water, underwater sea drones. So it's possible to prove and then to go this way. And if you look this company side business and funding side, it's always, I have this question, this actually is the issue of chicken and egg, who is the first, and is there missing fundings or fund these venture capitals or funding, say, where are the projects, where are the products, where is businesses? And we need to talk about the ecosystem, how to develop together. So this is this responsibility for everybody, also for public sector, for government, to be very active, to have a boost and help this ecosystem to grow. And in Latvia case, we are absolutely ready. We have interinstitutional cooperation with the Ministry of the Economy, Ministry of Finance, Altum institution, and so on. So we are very much interested defense industry to grow.
Okay, I feel you have a lot of comments on this, but I have one question. So that you are just trying to a little bit move from my main questions. So, okay, let's do quite practical, because you mentioned you need to just go, talk with the army. It's just like easy. You go to drive to Celiac, knock the door. Hey, I have a nice product. Can you try this one? Let's go very practical. So if the company who's just looking in this direction in defense industry, give a first step. So very practical. It's not just to, I don't know, Google what is the defense market at the moment, what is the trends. I believe you can do also that, but let's do it very practical. I will start from Euro perspective.
Yes.
What is the first step? I'm just beginner in this. What I need to do?
Well, I would give immediately two ways what you can do. I see in a lot of European member states, and for sure in all Baltic countries, there are national defense innovation grounds. So that's the way, one way how you can test, validate your idea if it's something interesting for the military. The second option is, and I think it's also very popular, there's a lot of defense hackathons taking place. So of course it's a short weekend event. It might not give you much out of it, you will not get some funding, but at least it's also an opportunity to interact with end users, to interact with industry. So I maybe would not agree that it's difficult to enter. I think more and more you see it's really popular, and there's lots of opportunities for companies to test. Then the second thing is accelerator. We are also in Europe starting a defense business accelerator, 8-month program, lots of boot camps. Here we give some funding, we bring you out to the ecosystem in the countries where it's really strong defense industry. So there are, I think, opportunities how you can start. It's not necessarily you need to go out to the polygon or test center and knock on the door. So there are, I think, ways in all countries, now in a lot of countries, and also at the European level, how you can start, really.
Okay, so the hackathon is just to know people, gather with the people if you have a very raw idea about this. Secondly, so that is NATO, Diana, I believe we are talking about
Europe,
this kind of...
No, also in Europe we have a business accelerator. We'll have a first call. This is the first year for us, so we will take first 20 companies and groom them over the 6-month program.
So that's good, okay. What in Latvia we can do?
I see very practical from Latvia perspective, and universities, I would say, is a core for it. And I see it as a blockchain when we begin with research programs to be financed, to have the very academic ones. Then there are some master degree programs financed where the researchers do the job and so on. Of course, hackathons, some input, and then accelerator programs. And if we mention these European accelerator programs, there's a question. Are the startups ready to be in these European accelerator programs, and then come pre-accelerator, preparing this mentoring, preparation, and so on. This is what we are going to finance even in Latvia beginning from 2025. And then there are special grants, labs, and assistance and support to universities to grow this innovation. And this blockchain goes on. And then at the very end could be this research development contracts when some prototypes could be developed. And as we define, there could be a problem between these prototypes, research development contracts, and industrialization, whereas in the middle. And actually in legislation, what I like, it was at the very end of the last year in legislation, it was made big step that universities can participate in commercialization. Before that, universities were aside, just doing research, all this educational stuff, but not going to participate in businesses. Now it's possible to do, or with some ideas, some products, whatever. But it's helping this gap. So for every startup, of course, it's independent story. But my belief, it's possible to find right solution where to be. And what we do in Latvia, we help to go to European funds, European Defense Fund. We help with writing the proposals, programs. We help to prepare everything, and this is our assistance. As I said, also for Accelerator Diana project, we do this pre-accelerator program preparing in Latvia. So I would say for every startup, we can find where to fit. Of course, this big issue is when you come, where's this demarcation line? What is military defense industry, and where begin dual-use industry, and where the rest? Because it's important. Otherwise, you will not understand in which funding you should go for. But it's possible to do in a very practical way.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in every company building, doesn't matter defense or other company, you have kind of 4 steps or 4 stages. And sorry, those are not very official, I just invented them. One is invent, so you come up with the idea. The other one is develop. You develop idea into a prototype. Then you have to scale or mass produce, and then you have to sell. Every startup needs to understand that all those 4 steps are in parallel, so you have to sell at the moment when you invent. You have to think about how to scale at the moment when you invent. So you do those steps in parallel. As an Estonian, to take those 2 last steps, kind of scale or mass produce and sell. As an Estonian, just for the record, it's very, very hard for me to admit that Latvia is a very good country to mass produce and to invest too. So Latvia has been very, very welcoming also to Frankenburg technologies to support through different, incentives. And here I would strongly recommend to actually use Google, LIA, Ministry of Economics, Ministry of Defense, and so on and so forth. So you'll get a lot of support. On the first 2 points, in addition to what has already been said, I think what startups kind of miss, and going back to what Minister said earlier, that you have to have people in the startup who know defense. Well, you do and you don't. What is normally really ill-defined is a problem statement. What is exactly we're trying to solve? So you have on one hand a warfighter who wants to do things better, but he don't know what are the possibilities on the market. And on the other side, you have a startup who would come up with a thing. It shows, I have this thing, but warfighter doesn't know how to use it. So the problem statement of kind of what we are trying to solve is the most important thing. And the second thing is kind of, how would I put that? Yeah, I had now the breakdown in my brain. That's very typical in Estonia, by the way, as you know. So go ahead.
No?
No.
okay.
I'll come up.
You will
with-
come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then if I may add, I think I want to a little bit contradict myself as well. Yes, you need the defense or military knowledge, but if you see the examples, the companies that came to European Defence Fund and managed to get 4-6 million and implement and lead cross-border teams with Estonian, German companies, they were actually civilian startups. So I think it was also thanks to the good cooperation with Defense Ministry, the support they got, and they really good examples. And we had 2 days ago these startups to testify, and I think these are excellent sort of learning examples. They start small, they get noticed, the industry, European industry starts to trust you, and you get involved more and more projects. So not necessarily you need to really be ex-military.
Yes.
No.
If I may,
Okay.
Remember.
All right.
it came back.
Go.
It came back. What most of the startups don't realize is that the invention is not only this kind of piece you invent, it's not only the technology. So in military, it lands into what is called technology, then TTP, tactics, techniques, procedures, and then changes in organization. So it's the same again with your mobile phone, a smartphone. I mean, if somebody introduced, let's imagine in 1980s, somebody would introduce a smartphone and say it has 3 cameras, this and that wouldn't talk to people at all. You have to have an ecosystem like social media. That's why we need all those cameras. You need to have a social media to have those apps, and you know, if I think about my childhood and 1970s, you know, analog cameras, you go to lunch, you take a picture of your food. That sounds really ridiculous and really weird, but it's a normal behavior now. So we have changed. So similarly, you have to change also the military. You have to put together changes in organization, changes in tactics, changes in procedures, and so on and so forth. So, and this is really hard to get, I think.
Okay, then let's go a little bit on and talk about the risks, because I feel that there is some risks for startups, especially if the startups are small and you know, in this beginning phase. So you need to make decisions, and those decisions can end up with, you know, that startup is dead. And so in this case, what is the chance that startup in the, you know, in this first phase make a decision to try these 2 ways? So military way and civil way of their technology, if it's possible.
Of course it's possible, and I think it's in many cases we see, I think Frankenburg maybe is an exception. There's not many defense startups with that level of defense background, right, in Baltics or in Europe. But we see that's the case. Many companies that come to defense funds, they are civilian. Well, the European Commission made this deliberate choice to separate support for innovation, there's civil and the defense, but I think it's a very suboptimal solution. We immediately, I think, on defense side realized that this is not how we want things to work, so that's why we try really to sort of cut down all the funding that we have into smaller pieces, so civil companies have opportunities to come in.
Can you just a little bit stay on this and explain, because I believe there is assumption that at the moment, so we really strict, you know, split the funding. I will give example about EIC. So EIC doesn't support, so also dual use or military. But then again, sometimes, you know, the startup are smart and they're asking, but if I, you know, apply and tell that it will be for the space, it will work? Yes, it will work. Okay, and oh yes, they are thinking about military application, but still they are talking about the space. So what's the situation in Europe and these new programs that will come up in the next years? Will there be mixed of this kind of instruments?
Will there be a mix that we will put everything together? I don't think so. There will, of course, be split because the rules are different, how how you manage. For us, it's important where the company is based, who is controlling it, the licensing, of course, much more the giving overall the oversight. But we have baby steps. With EIC, we try to go closer. Of course, we are trying. We have, on the defense side, we have no problem accepting civil innovation, and we want civil innovation to spin in. So we have a number of sort of smaller grants, what we call green corridors for spinning in what comes from, let's say, it's space, cyber, materials. We have a lot of domains which are based on the civil innovation, on civil industries. But I don't expect that there will be such a strong marriage, that there will be no differentiation.
Okay, so only 6 minutes left, so let's go to the market.
Can I also about risks? I like your question about
Love it.
risks, because
Go
in
ahead.
my heart I want to step out from my as a politician out of the shoes, but as an entrepreneur, I always say I am very much sure there are thousands of risks here in the mines, everything. And entrepreneurs always should dream hundreds projects, hundreds. And maybe 10 of them will be more or less okay. And if 1 or 2 will go in life, it's very good success. And it's very important, don't be afraid from the risks, don't be afraid from collapsing and so on. It's a normal thing. And you should continue thinking and dreaming and making the projects, and it's absolutely very much important. And from our side, what's governmental and Minister of Defense, we are prioritizing. We are giving which are the main priorities, because we cannot go as in mall and everything is very important. If we say everything is very important, then it's nothing important. We have said 7 priorities. We have these technologies, robotics and drone systems, everything like that, then artificial intelligence, second priority, then cyber defense and cyber security, then development of quantum technologies, innovative materials, thermal camouflage, biotechnologies, and energy systems. So we say these 7 are priorities. So we say to audience, so if you focus on that, we will lead you by hand and we will help you. But you have to be this flame in your eyes, and you should believe your ideas, and don't be afraid of any risks on even collapsing. We'll go on and you'll succeed it. So we are as a supportive one from the governmental side, because we are interested in ecosystem, in developing defense industry in general.
I would maybe counter-argument a little bit from this kind of other side. If you're a startup and you think about either being single use, meaning defense company only, or dual use, then, well, every startup is a company. What you need is money. I mean, if you are not making money, then you are not a company. Then you're dead. But how to get the money is a big problem. And honestly, I've been thinking about this really quite a lot, like 7 minutes. But that's a span of my normal thinking. I can't do more. But if we divide it to research and development, like European Union does, research is a very low technical readiness level, and development is kind of taking maybe TRL 5, 4, 6, and into the 8 and 9. Then the research, yes, I agree, universities, programs, and exactly those main areas what Minister said. But let's imagine that you have something that can be done into the thing, and it is a potentially dual use. Then me as an entrepreneur would be really challenged to ask, why would I do that dual use? Why would I care about defense if I can go to civilian market? Because defense market, we're still too slow, we are very deliberate, and we might stamp you, kind of. For people who do not know that, defense industry just 2 years ago was kind of at the level of child pornography and drug use for the banks and everybody else. So why would you hinder yourself? Go to civilian market and do not waste time on defense. So what we see in defense in the dual use are civilian companies who have revenue elsewhere, and for reasons like sometimes making more money, but in many, many cases in Baltic countries, patriotic reasons. They want to contribute to defense. Yes, I get it. But otherwise, no.
Okay, that was good pitch not to go to in defense industry.
Exactly.
So,
No competition, huh? No
Make-
competition.
Make weapons.
okay, we have left 1 minute, so then please go with your pitch why defense industry and all those startups should go and at least try.
Well, I think there is in current geopolitical situation, and I will not dwell on, everybody knows what goes on. I think there's no more responsible and meaningful mission-driven work to do than to support essentially your freedom, security, your country's existence. Okay?
In a couple of words, I would say I will make a small critics to you. The military and defense industry is the best where now to invest and create ideas for products and services, and because, yes, patriotic reason could be one very important one, but also business-wise. We see this development will be very, very fast in next future years, and many funds, many instruments, financial, will be allocated for it. And also in Lithuania, Estonia, there are a defense industry investment fund. In Latvia, it's coming beginning from this year. And venture capitals will also pay more and more attention. So if you have a great idea, great initiative, so defense industry is the one where you should pay attention and go in.
3, 2, 1. So, yes, from the taxpayer perspective and from my personal perspective, every single euro we spend into defense is a waste of money. However, if we look outside, this is how normal winter looks like nowadays. As we say in Estonia, it's a shitty skiing weather. And our security environment is exactly like this. So, in order to have museums, art, culture, sports, and everything, we have to invest into defense. And you heard, it's a booming sector now. So come to defense industry and invest into defense industry. You'll be A, patriotic, B, you'll be richer too.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, thank you. So our panel have finished it with, really nice and warm welcoming words to at least look at defense industry as a big chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this was Liene, Kristīne, Atis, Veiko. Give a quick round of applause, more for defense.